What's going on YouTube? Pistol Pete here. So today I want to talk about knife destruction videos and give you my opinion on them. I know opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has them and they all stink. So I'm going to give you my stinky opinion on it. So, I just want to throw it out there and give you my thoughts on it. You guys can leave me comments. Let me know what you think. If you agree with me, if you don't agree with me. But so first off, I want to say I'm not against knife destruction videos. Okay, there's a purpose for them, I enjoy seeing. I mean, human nature, we like to see shit get destroyed, right? Guys shoot up trucks and blow shit up, and we want to see, the stress points of a certain item, a knife, whatever it is, to see what it can take. But that's not the I don't have a problem with that, and I do find that entertaining. Even me, I watch some of those channels, and I'm not gonna name any names of certain channels or anything like that. You all know who they are. If you're in the knife community, you know who these guys are that do the destruction videos. And for the most part, I like the guys. I like their content. I watch it. But the only part I have a problem with that I don't agree with on what some of these guys do are the testing methods, and also when they put down the knife for a failure. Again, sometimes it's like it all depends. There's so many different variables to that go on with these testing to just determine a knife is shit because of what they're doing. There's it comes from heat treat, the stock thickness, the materials being used, the purpose of the knife itself. So I'm going to get into detail what I'm talking about here right now. So what I mean by that is some of these guys I see, they'll be getting a knife and they're slamming it against a steel pole over and over and over, or a brick over and over, or a cement block 50, 60, 70, 80 times. And when the knife eventually breaks, oh, it's a shit knife, man, that broke fast. The other, I had a knife that I slammed it 30 times. This one only took 25 times and the knife broke, it's shit. Or they'll shoot it with a freaking pellet gun or even a real gun, and the knife breaks, and oh man, that's shit. That's what a shitty knife. It broke because I shot it with a shotgun, or I shot it with a pellet gun and it chipped. But what they're not taking into consideration is the different tasks for different knives. So of course, if you have a knife with a higher heat treat, so you have something with a rock hold hardness of 60 or above, it's going to be more brittle. It's going to have a really good edge retention, but it's going to be definitely more hard, which makes it more brittle. But it's going to be a great slicer, a great edge retention holder. I mean, there's a lot of fact. Then you have something that's a lower end that has a lower heat treat, maybe a spring steel. That's gonna hold. It might bend and not break, so it's gonna bend, but it doesn't hold an edge as well. So there's a lot of different variables that take place, in my opinion, for whether the knife is good or bad. And so that's the thing I have. That's only the gripe I have about some of these guys. They'll do this craziest shit, and they'll say, "Oh, this knife's shit. This knife sucks." And in my opinion, there's a lot more variables involved. And then on top of that, the build quality, not even materials used. So how the knife is built. So I brought out two knives, for example, two badass knives. So hopefully you guys enjoy these. But I brought out this one is the Shade Indonesia. This is the Son of Kratos knife. Beautiful bitchin' freaking knife. Beautiful, beautiful knife. Highly recommend this company, man. The owner is just awesome, Shaney. And then another knife I highly recommend. That's one of my favorites. Both of these are my favorites. They're freaking badass. So I try to bring it out kind of like for like, but give you a little bit of my opinion on these things. Okay, so this knife right here. This one here is the Work Tough Aries, designed by Hunter Cutchins and built by Work Tough. The maker over there, Vic Lynn, awesome dude, awesome dude. Two high quality knives. I mean, you cannot. Both of these are just amazingly constructed, awesome heat treats. Just look at the quality of this. Look at this. I mean, the fit and finish is just perfect. The grind work is amazing. They're both razor blades, sharpness. Just perfectly executed knives for the design that they're going for. Okay, but let's talk about what I'm talking about. So you have some of these knife destruction guys. Let's do a prying test. Let's see a prying test, right? So we'll do a pry. Look at this. Now, this is an awesome knife, but look how thin this knife is. Do you see how thin that is? This is again, this is more like a fighter knife, because this is also a sharpened swedge. This right here is just as sharp as this part here. It's freaking sharp as hell. So for back cutting and stuff like that. Now take a look at the Aries. Look how thick that tip is. Look how robust that tip is compared to this one. Okay, so if I do prying, common sense, guys, common sense. Which one is gonna break in trying to pry? If I hammer these in with the hammer, hard as I can, about, you know, let's go like a ½ an inch deep on each one, and then I just try my hardest to pull and yank. You don't think this tip is gonna bend or break first before this one? Look how thick that is. Does this make a shitty knife? Does this make, oh man, what a shit knife, the tip broke almost immediately. And this one's freaking way better because the tip held up. They're two different designs for two different type of tasks. You know, this is like a hand axe, man. This one's so thick. Look how thick that is. This one is meant for like I said, hand axe, for batoning, for just going crazy. This one's a little thinner stock. That's a little less than a 1/4 inch with a freaking sharpened swedge. This is meant for fighting, dude. This is meant for swinging around. I mean, going through stuff, slicing. You know, and it's still, like I said, it's still a great quality knife. But you can't judge both these knives for one being shitty or the other, because this one, the tip broke off, and it's a really acute, tight, slim tip with a different grind work than this one. This one has a fat, huge, robust tip, and this one held up. The tip didn't break on this one because look how thick it is. Again, so that's where I get into the issue, in my opinion. And like I was talking about heat treat. So let's just say, for example, these are both. This one here is this one here is the Work Tough is SK85 high carbon steel, and this one here is 5160 spring steel, which is both carbon steels. But let's just say, for example, this one has a heat treat, super high heat treat. You know, like let's say I should say heat treat, a rock hold hardness of over 60. This one has one between like 58, 59. So this one, if you shot this with a gun, it would most likely more chance of bending and warping than this one would shatter more like glass, just because of the heat treat. So I mean, maybe I'm not explaining myself correctly, but my terminology may be a little off. But that's what I'm trying to get at. They're meant for two different things. You want something that's rugged and tough, that maybe holding heat treat or holding edge, or something that's going to be also rugged and tough, but little tiny bit more brittle for a certain type of work. And again, so like you're shooting a pellet gun at these two. If one is more of a springy, softer steel, and the other one has with a lower rock hold, you have one with a higher rock hold, you're going to end up freaking breaking the rock hold. But when it comes to slicing tasks, now if you do the same thing and you slice a rope 50 times each one, this one will still probably cut paper, and this one won't be able to, you'll just tear it because it's not going to hold an edge. So again, it's okay. Like, what I want to get back at is, it's okay to do these destruction videos and see where the breaking point is in knives. But in my opinion, of a real stress test of a knife, and again, this isn't stress testing the knife. This is destruction. This is just, let's just break the knife no matter what. To me, a true test of a knife's ability is like what Scab from Choir Boys Outdoors does. Me, what I do, Fit for Knives, John from Fit for Knives. Most of us knife reviewers, like those type of people, that they still do a lot of stuff. You can still do tip testing. I'm not saying don't do it, but do it into wood and do it reasonably for what the knife is meant for. If you want to see how it holds an edge, smash it into a log like it's supposed to. Smashing it into a freaking concrete block or into a steel pole, to me, it doesn't really prove how good the knife is. So this isn't really knife testing again. And when it comes out, or I shouldn't say, this isn't a test to see how good the knife is. It's just a test to see when it breaks, you know. So I don't know. Like I said, if you go for John for Fit for Knives, his is a good example of what I'm saying, to see the testing the knife for hard use. Hard use, I'm 100% good with hard use. Scab beats the shit out of his knives. I did a couple hard use videos on a couple even folders, but I didn't go and throw it against a cement wall, or try to hit it against a steel pole and make it good. I was hitting into wood. I was batoning with it, stuff that you would actually do in a survival situation. When you're out in the woods, are you going to go find a concrete block and slam your blade into it? No, but you are going to try to probably break up wood for a fire or kindling, or you might have to baton through something, again. So this is the more things. And I was going to go back to John Fit for Knives. He was swinging at a log with a big-ass blade. I forget which blade it was. And he had a big log. He's hammering it, hitting it hard, and the blade broke, bing, and busted off. Now that tells you that knife had a bad heat treat. And again, it might just be that one knife, and not be the whole line. But I mean, you can't just automatically say, oh, this freaking knife's shit. And if you call the company and they say, oh, we'll send you a new one, you send a new one and you test the new one, the new one holds up great, then you know it was just that one. You can't say, oh, this knife's shit, this company's shit, it sucks. So, it's kind of unfair to the knife company at that point, especially when you're doing these destruction videos, and you're not giving them a chance. And then when you're doing strictly 100% destruction, and you're not just doing hard use testing and hard use reviews, then it's even more so that you can't judge the maker or the knife itself when you're just doing strictly destruction. All right, guys, I don't want to make this too long. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents, whether, what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me. Like I said, I do think they're entertaining. I do like destruction videos. I just don't like when they, at the end of it, or when the knife breaks, bashing the company. Especially after hitting it into a steel pole or shooting with a freaking gun. If the knife breaks, it's almost like a no-duh, common sense thing, right? They're not meant for that type of thing, If it breaks when you're hitting against a tree or cutting a tree down and the breaks, or if you're doing, with something like this, if you're doing prying and you're super light prying, I mean, you're barely sticking an old hard wood and the tip breaks off, okay, then you could say that, a good example of that is, what's his name? Prepared Mind 101, Chris from Prepared. He recently did a video on which one was that? It was a cold steel Tonto point. It's usually like a throwing knife. Forgive me, I forget the name of it right now, but it's one of the last ones he did. It was a tip test. He was barely sticking in rotted wood. He was just wiggling it like that, wiggling it, and the tip broke off. Okay, then you could say, hey man, that's pretty bad. It had a bad heat treat. Now if you're hammering it into a freaking stump and yanking and pulling your whole body and trying to really just yank and just and it breaks, you can't be like, oh, what a shitty ass tip, this thing broke. You were trying with all your might to break that tip, or you stuck it in the log 5-6 times to try to break it and it breaks. You can't blame the knife. It's total beyond abuse at that point. It's not abuse. So again, there's different ways of testing that I agree with, and it is what it is. That's, again, my opinion. That's what I think about it. If you're gonna do destruction videos, I would say just don't bash the knife company when it breaks or whatever. Just do it. Just see, hey, this held up well, or this seemed to break a little early. That's good. But when you say knife shit or it's junk or shit metal or this and that, it's like you can't judge that when it comes to slamming it against cement. When you get a hard, it's gonna be more brittle, obviously, with the higher freaking rock hold hardness. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. So this is the one that I broke, and this one was I didn't break it intentionally, but I had this for years and years and years as a thrower, and I was throwing it at the log for years, leaving on the environment, cold hot, and I ended up I think I weakened the heat treat by leaving out in the environments and abusing the shit out of it. And when I threw it in the log one day, the tip busted off. And then where I even made it worse is I tried grinding a freaking edge back on it, and I accomplished that. But I didn't dunk it in cold water. So I let this shit was getting almost glowing red and everything when I was getting up. So I made it super brittle, lost the heat treat, busted off all the way. So letting you know I didn't do this on purpose. But, it was just, I had to use this for the thumbnail to bring up the point of knife destruction. All right, guys, enough. That's enough with this video. Please like, subscribe, and share. And until next knife gun or whatever.